Hello and welcome to my creative team assignment for Felicity Jane for February using the new Alexis kits, and I'm using the Love Notes stamp. And you can see that I printed here 6 different pattern papers from the digital pattern papers in the digital kit. And I just put them all on one 8.5 by 11 sheet so that I could trim them, and the idea is that I'm going to punch different shapes from each of the patterns. So I'm just trimming them apart so I can get my punches in there. And the background paper is pattern number 12. So the background paper, I printed a whole sheet of 8.5 by 11 because it's going to serve as my journaling. So there's lots of affirming words and encouraging words on this background. There's like grace, enjoy the journey, and things like that. So love your life, and there's just lots of positive affirmations on this. So I thought that would work as my journaling, a layout about my 2 kids. And I wanted to, you can see here that I'm going to punch in each strip of pattern paper. I'm going to punch 3 shapes. So I'll punch a star, a heart, and a butterfly. And at first I punch out of each different color, and then I realize I probably want to change the patterns and punch in each pattern. I need to punch 3 different styles. So that's when I realized, oh, I better punch one of each shape. So you can see my punches off to the right there, and I'm going to try to decide where I'm going to place them. They're going to sort of be in a grid right now, and then I'll get an idea, and you'll see in a few minutes what I change my mind and end up doing. So the stars will all line up, the hearts will all line up, and the butterflies will all line up. But each of them is in a different pattern. So now I need a heart from this dot. And I need a butterfly from the pink. So I love that they have the digital kits now from Felicity Jane, because on the day of reveal each month, now you're able to get the digital kit and start creating right away with the brand new kit. You don't have to wait for anything to get mailed to you, so that's perfect. And so I started creating this on the February 1st of 2018, and I wanted to see if I could create an entire layout simply with the digital items. And I used the pattern papers, as you can see here, but then I also printed a page of the ephemera that comes in the digital kit. And I'm going to layer some of the ephemera pieces on top of these punch shapes to get a little more dimension. So right now I'm deciding what else can I do. So I bring in my photo just so I can think about how else I want the page to go, because I didn't really have a direction. I didn't have a sketch. So I just had an idea in my head that I wanted to punch these different shapes. So this was actually a lot longer video. Just I had to cut out some of the hemming and hawing I did trying to decide. As you can see here, I'm not sure where I'm placing my photo yet, but I know that I want these shapes. So I'm going to move these around on the page and see if I like them better up at the top. So I'll move those all up to the top and leave a space for the photo. And here's where I get the idea, oh, what if I use some pink crochet thread and just kind of dangle the shapes on the thread? That way they can be up off the background, and there'll be some more dimension and texture on the layout. So this is where I'm going to start moving things around and seeing if I like it at the top right. And then I get the idea that I want to put some of these pattern paper strips down at the bottom to kind of ground the layout. And I also need some black and white at the bottom because it looks it doesn't look heavy enough at the bottom with the photo with all the dark colors in it. And now I'm going to use the Love Note stamp and that big huge scripty love word there. I'm going to peel this off and add this in a Hero Arts pink that just happens to be the same color as this kit has. And you know, if you're an old timer and you've been scrapping since the 90s, then you know you can rub an eraser on and you don't have to do this. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just rubbed an eraser on the polymer stamps. It's supposed to get a cleaner impression, but I always get a perfect impression with Felicity Jane stamps anyway, so. And I'm going to use the Hero Arts ink and just load up the ink on this, making sure I get a good coverage of ink. And this coordinates well with the colors in the kit. So I'll stamp this on a stamp pad and press down so that I can get a good impression. And here's the Love Note papers. And I'm thinking of using this bow. I really like it. I mean, it's so pretty. I really want to use this bow on one of my layouts at some point. Because it just is perfectly tied. So I trim the end and I think, well, maybe I'll move it at the bottom. I don't really like it there in the middle. I think it's too heavy. So I move it to the bottom for a little bit, just as a barrier between that pattern paper strip. And now I get the idea to use the Love Notes paper and create a little mat for my photo because it has hearts. And since this is a Love You page, I figure that works. I was going to trim that, but I thought, I'll just use my scissors. It doesn't have to be exactly straight. There we go. So that I'm going to try to decide where I want the photo now. And I'm thinking I want to, and at some point you can see that I had stamped quite a few different varieties of this love title, because this is going to be the title of my page. And I think I like the pink one the best, just because it gives a third part of the layout that has that dark pink. So here I'm just going to fussy cut it with my standard scissors. And I'm still thinking about, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about where I want to place the title. And I still have those ephemera pieces that I printed out. They're off camera, but I printed on the Hammer Mill digital copy paper because it really prints really nicely. I have it on a setting for photos, like best quality photos, and even though my printer doesn't have a setting for that paper, I just print it on, tell the printer that I'm printing on photo paper so that it'll do photo quality. And that's how I print my digital kit items. They always come out really crisp and clean and nice on that paper, so I like to use that. You can also use the Epson matte presentation paper. I've heard people get good results with that as well. So here you've noticed I've cut out the title and I don't quite know where to put it yet. I know I don't really like it right there with the other pink item. I feel like that's too much pink right there. So I take off one of the hearts from the stamp sheet and I'm probably going to stamp on the background just to highlight some of the words. There's hope and grace and love, and I'm just going to highlight some of those words with some ink. And here I'm taking the Felicity Jane Essential Puffy Shapes, and I'm going to add those to the sections where I added a little bit of ink splatters and the heart stamping, just to kind of group that. There, I'm showing you a close-up of this. Absolutely love that sheet of black and white little puffy shapes. They're super handy to have in your stash just to add a few little accents in different sizes around your page. So I'm going to do this in 3 spots, the same 3 spots that I stamped and did the splatters. And then I realized, oh, I think I like the title up there by that little corner. There's a photo corner in the ephemera pack in the digital kit, so I put that photo corner at the top left. Now I'm just putting some American Cross foam circles on the back of that title so that it stands up off the background and gives a little more dimension to the page as well. I just have to make sure I get it straight there because those foam dots are not they stick really good, so I really wanted to make sure I put it where I wanted it. Now I'm going to put some jewel drops, those Tonic Nouveau drops, in this light blush color. There's a little bit of the blush color in that floral pattern at the bottom, so I kind of want to bring that out on the page as well. That's why I'm adding the blush little jewel drops here. So I put those, you can see I'm tapping, sorry for the shakiness, that's not the shaky camera, I'm tapping the back of the paper so that the jewel drops will flatten out a little bit because they kind of had a little mountain peak there. Okay, so now you see I've I've stapled some of the punch shapes onto the crochet thread, and some of them I've stitched. And I used the Ranger matte multi-medium to adhere that string on the back of the shapes and let that dry, and then I went and stitched some of the ephemera shapes, and now I'm going to trim the crochet thread and start adhering down that pattern paper. So 2 of the crochet threads will be beneath this pattern, and then the one with the hearts is going to go over it, just to kind of, because it has a photo on it, I want it to stand out a little bit. And you also know that that row of hearts that the photo is on, I added a little bit more items. I added from the ephemera printable, I added up the printable hearts in the black and white stripe and the floral, just so that row has 5 hearts. And the stars and the butterflies just have 3. I just wanted to draw your eye to that row of hearts more than the other 2 rows. So here I'm just adhering down, and I already trimmed off the crochet thread, but I left that center heart one because I want the black and white pattern that I'm putting the tape on, I want that to go over this string. So I'm going to have to figure out where I want that first before I adhere that down. So you see me fidgeting. Do I want the top one to go off the page? No, not really. So I'm just trying to line these up and then decide. Some of them I'm going to adhere directly to the background, and then other ones I'm going to pop up on foam dots just to give a little more, like I said, dimension. But I can't do that near the ones that are going to be under the photo, otherwise I'd have to pop up the photo. So I just wanted a lot of different layers. So here I'm just adhering these with regular adhesive, and then the yellow one I'm going to adhere with the foam dots, because that one is far enough away from the photo I can get it off the background more. So I'm fluffing up the edge of the hearts just so everything isn't flat on the background. And then I realize, oh, I can just use the foam dots on the yellow and the floral heart. And just pulling the string up so that they stay straight. I didn't really measure, but you can kind of eyeball it. More foam dots on that floral from the ephemera pack, the digital ephemera kit. And so you'll see I still have adhesive on that strip that I've already, oh, and I took it off camera and stitched it. So I'm just going to adhere it now to the very bottom, and it will hold down that crochet thread of the center heart row of hearts. So I'll trim that off, and then I realize I'm going to place this whole thing on another background paper that's a little more sturdy, some 110-pound cardstock. So I have some close-ups and some stills. I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. And below I have some links to more of my work. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye!